Friedrich Nietzsche, you've heard the name, his ideas are powerful, often really misunderstood, and in his book Beyond Good and Evil, he basically takes a hammer to the very foundations of Western morality. So yeah, let's dive into this incredibly challenging, but I think essential work.
We have to start right here, with this famous, kind of chilling quote. This isn't just some cool line to put on a poster. It is a profound warning that sits at the very heart of this entire book. But what on earth is this abyss he's talking about? We're going to come back to this, I promise.
The title itself is Nietzsche's whole argument in a nutshell. He's not just discussing morality, he's questioning the very categories we use to even think about it in the first place.
So here's the crucial point. Nietzsche believed that for thousands of years, we've all been kind of trapped in this simplistic black and white moral framework. He wants to get beyond that, to look underneath and ask a much more fundamental question. Where did these values even come from? Who made them up?
Now, to really get what Nietzsche is doing, we first have to understand what or who he was fighting against. And his main target was a philosophical tradition stretching back more than 2,000 years, all starting with one guy, Plato.
So Plato argued for this two-world system. You've got our messy, flawed, apparent world right here, the one we experience with our senses, but then he said there's a true world of perfect, eternal ideas that you can only get to through pure reason. For Plato, that was the source of everything truly good.
And Nietzsche saw this exact same two-world structure in Christianity, right? The flawed earth versus a perfect heaven. The sinful body versus the eternal soul. He famously said that Christianity simply made Plato's super abstract philosophy accessible to, well, everybody.
And here's the real problem with that, according to Nietzsche. This way of thinking teaches us to be suspicious of this life, the one we're actually living. It tells us our instincts, our passions, our bodies, our world, it's all flawed, temporary stuff you just have to get through to get to the real world later. For Nietzsche, this is a profound rejection of life itself.
Okay, so if good isn't some universal truth beamed down from a true world, where does it come from? Well, for Nietzsche, the answer is a story about a power struggle between two ancient types of morality.
First, you had what he called master morality. This was the value system of the old-school ruling classes, the nobles, the warriors. They looked at their own qualities, strength, pride, power, and just said, this is good, easy. They were the ones who created value.
But then you had the morality of the oppressed, the weak, the slaves, and it was born from a place of weakness and deep resentment, a feeling Nietzsche called ressentiment. Now, they couldn't beat the masters with force, so instead they did something genius and, to Nietzsche, sinister. They redefined morality itself. They took all the master's strengths and just labeled them evil.
Just look at the contrast here. It's a complete inversion. What the master calls good, being proud, powerful, the slave calls evil. And what the master looks down on as bad, being humble, common, the slave turns around and relabels as good. It's a total flip.
And here is Nietzsche's most provocative historical claim: the slaves won. He argued that through movements and religions like Christianity, this reactive, life-denying morality completely triumphed. Humility, compassion, pity, these became the dominant values of Western civilization. The great value flip was complete.
Okay, so if Nietzsche has just torn down the entire building of traditional morality, what does he want to build in its place? This brings us to his vision for a new kind of person, the philosopher of the future.
At the absolute core of this new philosophy is the will to power. Now, for Nietzsche, this is the basic drive of all life. It's not just about surviving, it's about striving, growing, overcoming things, and imposing your will on the world. It's an affirmation of what life, at its core, actually is. And the person who embraces this will to power is what Nietzsche calls a free spirit. These are individuals defined by their courage to question absolutely everything. They don't just accept the values that are handed down to them. They are creative and brave enough to actually forge their own.
This is really Nietzsche's great hope, that after the collapse of all the old moral certainties, these new philosophers would finally emerge. They would be commanders, lawgivers, strong enough to forge a new path for humanity, one that's based on affirming this life, not denying it.
But, and this is a huge but, Nietzsche is no simple optimist. He totally gets the profound danger of his own ideas. And this brings us right back to where we started.
Gaze long into an abyss. Okay, so what is the abyss? The abyss is that terrifying freedom that comes after you've destroyed all the old values. It's a world with no pre-made good and evil, no safety net, no God telling you what to do. It's just you.
This is the true weight of that famous quote. It's a caution. The free spirit has to fight monsters, the dogmas and comforting lies of old morality. But in doing so, they risk becoming monstrous themselves, totally lost in nihilism. To stare into that void, to really question everything, is to risk having that emptiness stare right back and consume you.
So Nietzsche leaves us with this terrifying and, I think, exhilarating challenge. He doesn't give us new answers. He just gives us a new, much more profound question. In a world beyond good and evil, the responsibility to create meaning, to create value, falls squarely and maybe crushingly on us.